Sayın Rektörüm, değerli mensuplarımız, sevgili öğrencilerimiz ve değerli ODTÜ ailesi. Learn and Connect 540 Lecture Series etkinliğimizin üçüncüsüne hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Bu özel seriye başlamadan önce öğrencilerimize finallerinde başarılar diliyor, ODTÜ'nün tüm paydaşlarını Adım ODTÜ'nün final dönemi ODTÜ'lünün sandviçi benden projesine destek olmaya davet ediyoruz. Katkılarınız için şimdiden çok teşekkür ederiz. Şimdi GİSAM'ın hazırlamış olduğu Learn and Connect teaser videosunu izliyoruz.
Welcome to Learn and Connect 540 Lecture Series. Every month, we invite students, academics, and university staff to come together for an enlightening lecture presented by one of our esteemed researchers. After each captivating talk, step outside the hall to engage in vibrant networking sessions, connect with fellow learners, exchange ideas, and delve deeper into the topic of the day in a welcoming atmosphere. This month's lecture is The Landscape of Learning, Conserving, Managing, and Reimagining METU Campus as a Living Modern Heritage by Professor Ayşe Güliz Altınöz.
GİSAM'a bu güzel video için teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi konuşmalarını yapmak üzere rektörümüz Profesör Doktor Sayın Ahmet Yozgatlı ile kürsüye davet ediyorum.
Kıymetli hocalarım, çok az sayıdaki kıymetli öğrencilerimiz, korsan konuşma, Learn and Connect'in her zamanki korsan konuşmacısı olarak hem sizlere bir merhaba demek. Bugün aslında çok detaylı bir hazırlık yapmadım ama bu Learn and Connect konuşmalarında şimdiden ilan edeyim. Üniversitemizde işte ayda bir yapıyoruz. O aylık gelişmeleri de yönetim perspektifinden, rektörlük perspektifinden sizlerle paylaşmak isterim. Kısaca, tabii ki bu 540 derslerinin öznesi, ana konusu o günkü değerli araştırmacılarımız ve onların çok önemli, üniversitemizi ilgilendiren konusu. Gerçekten ben bugünkü konuşmayı da çok değerli ve önemli buluyorum. Üniversitemizin nasıl diyeyim, mimari anlamda mirası, mimari anlamdaki yapısı ve değeri noktasında. Tabii hocamızın, Ayşe Güliz hocamızın ünvanlarında, yani duyuruda düzelttirmiştim rektör danışmanı, burada yine rektör danışmanı ünvanı konmamış. O noktada da arkadaşlarıma teessüflerimi iletiyorum. E-mail'da düzelttiğim hususu burada düzeltmemişsiniz. O açıdan ben bu Learn and Connect'leri gerçekten çok önemli ve kıymetli buluyorum ve bölüm başkanlarımızın, yöneticilerimizin, öğretim üyelerimizin özellikle bu toplantıları öğretim üyelerimizle ve öğrencilerimizle bir araya gelme fırsatı olarak değerlendirmelerini ve onların tam katılımını beklediğimi de belirtmek istiyorum. Bu noktada yöneticilerimiz dediğimiz noktada üniversitemizin bildiğiniz gibi 5 fakültesi var. 4 fakültesinin dekan ataması bu hafta içinde gerçekleşti. Ben yeni atanan dekanlarımıza başarılar diliyorum ve görevlerini tamamlamış olan dekanlarımıza da üniversiteye yapmış oldukları hizmetlerden dolayı teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii ki bu yöneticilik görevleri bizim üniversitemizde bir bayrak teslimi, devir teslimi. O noktada zaten asli görevlerimiz öğretim üyeliğine hepimiz her zaman dönmeyi dört gözle bekliyorlar. O açıdan da görev teslimleri, görev devirleri de bizde her zaman hem yeni atanın heyecanı hem de görev süresini tamamlamış olan kişinin de mutluluğuyla böyle çok pozitif bir şekilde gerçekleşiyor. Bu noktada aslında vurgulamak istediğim bir husus, Mühendislik Fakültemizin dekanımız Görkem Hoca, ODTÜ Tarih'inin Mühendislik Fakültesinin ilk kadın dekanı. O açıdan da anlamlı bir üniversitemiz için, özellikle Mühendislik Fakültesi kendi fakültem içinde çok önemli ve anlamlı bir görevlendirme oldu. Ben tabii üniversitemizde hani genel anlamda kısa bir değerlendirme yapmak gerekirse öğretim üyelerimizin kadroları, yani yükselme kadroları çok hızlı bir şekilde gerçekleşti. Yani kadro taleplerimiz başarıyla sonuçlandı ve yükselme noktasında üniversitemizde önemli bir şekilde aslında tamamlandı. Başvuruların hayata geçmesiyle bu tamamlandı ve atama, yani ilk atama noktasında da üniversitemize önemli miktarda kadrolar geldi. O noktada da ben bölümlerimizin aday öğretim üyeleri noktasında aktif bir şekilde adayları bu açılacak kadrolara başvuru noktasında nasıl diyeyim, desteklemeleri, onları bilgilendirmeleri ve üniversitemizin ihtiyaç duyduğumuz önemli alanlardaki bu kadro genişlemesinde tabii ki buraya başvuru yapacak nitelikli adayların olması çok önemli. Bu noktada da bölümlerimizden aktif bir şekilde arayış, ilanlara çıkmalarını, duyurulara çıkmalarını, en azından bu noktada ilgiyi bölümlerimize, Orta Doğu Teknik Üniversitesi'ne toplama anlamında da farkındalık oluşturmaları ve bu kadrolar ilan edildiği noktada bu ilanlara yine nitelikli araştırmacıların, nitelikli öğretim üyesi adaylarının başvurularının sağlanması hususunda gayret göstermelerini beklediğimi söylemek istiyorum. Tabii bu noktada biz aktif araçlardan da faydalanacağız. Dekanlarımıza ve bölüm başkanlarımıza buradan belirtmek istiyorum. İşte modern araçlar, LinkedIn gibi. LinkedIn'in profesyonel şeyinde nasıl diyeyim, bu işe alma süreçleriyle ilgili profesyonel araçlarını üniversitemiz temin etti. Bu noktada da sizlerden oralarda uygun bir şekilde tabii ki üniversitemize, bölümlerimize başvuruyu nasıl diyeyim, telkin etmeleri, başvuruyu promote etmelerini bekliyoruz. Çünkü araştırma ve eğitim noktasında bunlar çok önemli. Ben hepinize, yani aslında 2025 yılının da bu ilk toplantısında 2025'in çok başarılı bir şekilde hepimiz için geçmesini ve bu final dönemlerinde öncelikli olarak öğrencilerimize başarılar diliyorum. Daha sonra da işte bu final kağıtlarını okuyacak öğretim üyelerimize de kolaylıklar diliyorum. Kendim de dahil olmak üzere. İnşallah yeni döneme büyük enerjiyle, büyük bir hevesle, büyük bir atılımla hepimiz için, ODTÜ için 2025'in ve yeni dönemin hayırlı olmasını ben diliyorum. Dediğim gibi bu Learn and Connect bizlerin bir arada olması, bizlerin fikirlerimizi, işte projeyle, araştırmayla ilgili fikirlerimizi, eğitimle ilgili fikirlerimizi tartışacağımız, konuşacağımız ve burada çok önemli çalışmaları dinleyeceğimiz bir platform. İnşallah bu platforma çok daha fazla katılımla ve hedefine uygun bir şekilde işbirliklerinin oluşacağı önemli bir yapı olmaya devam eder. Ben çok teşekkür ediyorum ve sizleri hocamızın konuşmasıyla baş başa bırakıyorum.
Sayın Rektörümüze teşekkür ediyoruz. Learn and Connect serimizin 3. dersi için şimdi Rektör Danışmanı, ODTÜ TAÇDAM Başkanı ve Mimarlık Bölümü öğretim üyesi Profesör Doktor Ayşe Güliz Bilgin Altınöz'ü The Landscape of Learning, Conserving, Managing and Reimagining METU CAMPUS as a Living Modern Heritage başlıklı konuşmasını yapmaları için kürsüye davet ediyorum.
Welcome. I'm sorry. I think the voice is now okay. Okay. Thank you for coming in such a busy period, because I know that all of you are so busy, and I can see that many of the students could not come normally, I can guess. But I hope that we can, at least the ones who are here, we can all together discuss about the place that we are living. The presentation that I'll be making is a little bit hard, in fact, because I will try to present something that you already know, which is harder than presenting a study that you do not know at all. So this is a little bit hard, but I will try to do this from my perspective. Oops. Yeah, I'll be trying to do this from my own perspective. So let me just tell who I am a little bit, even though from the introduction you can also guess. I'm an architect, and I'm specialized in conservation of cultural heritage places. And since almost for the last 30 years, I've been working on this subject: conservation, management, sustainable development of heritage places. And well, meanwhile, besides METU, I'm also involved in the international organizations as well, like ICOMOS and UNESCO. ICOMOS, International Organization on Monuments and Sites, and UNESCO, as all you know. And so I also continue working together with them as well. So my story with METU, of course, started when I was a student, but studying on METU started almost about 2010s. In conservation, we always say that conservation starts with threats. When there's a threat, when you are afraid of losing something, then you start working on it. You try to conserve it. So if you remember as well, during that period, there was a road passing through METU. There was a discussion about the road passing through METU, which made many of us a little bit afraid of losing our environment that we have been always living. Normally, because we always live here, we do not realize sometimes the values of the place, and we do not think of doing something to preserve it, because it's always there, and you do not need to do anything for this. But when there's a threat like that, then you start thinking about what I can do to stop this. So at that point, there was also a conservation plan going on. However, it was not handled as the way that we are used to. I mean, we always make conservation plans together with all the stakeholders, because it's important that any place is owned by people, used by people, so it's important to involve people into that process. And also, it's a value-based process. So first you have to understand the values of a place so that you can know what you're trying to conserve. And you can understand what are the threats towards these values. And perhaps you can add new values to the place as well. So at that period, I started a project, a METU project, on understanding the values of METU campus, together with a group of scholars. So all these projects that I'll be telling here are a result of group works I'll be mentioning at the end of this presentation as well. So I was not alone in that story. And so we started working on the values of the place. And then onwards, because of various different things, I continued working there. The second big attempt was about METU rector Ahmet Acar wanted to do something to define principles in acting at METU. This was a very good initiative, I can say. So at that point, I was also involved in that process to define some of the principles as how we'll be approach the place, the strategies that we have to follow to conserve but also develop the place as well. And later on, there was pandemic, as you know. And during pandemic, because we could not go anywhere, we had to study METU as well. And that also added new knowledge on the study. So based on this, I'll be presenting this issue. Well, I'll start with a quotation from Chapman saying that place matters because it is the incubator of the processes that make up the multiple kinds of learning that occur within and beyond campus borders. The intellectual inquiry, the social interaction, the civic engagement, and the cultural enrichment that attends to these experiences. So it is that context that we are continuing with our learning and research activities. And so when we think about this, of course, METU, which was funded as an extraordinary institution, higher education institution at the end of 1950s, had to have an extraordinary environment as a context. So during that period, it was really a lucky period, I can say, because besides the formation of METU as an institution, that process about creating the physical environment for METU and also the process of constructing it was extraordinary as well to its period. So result is because of that, perhaps that extraordinary and important for us. And there was, after its foundation, there was a competition for METU Campus. I'll not tell all the details because there are several breaking points that happened meanwhile as well. But mainly, after the competition of 1961, the first prize was given to Altu and Behruz Çinici to design the campus. And they started designing the campus, and they were totally involved during the construction process of the campus as well, together with many other colleagues, architects, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers, and so on. And they were really involved into the process. And when we look at Behruz Çinici's first reports, he considers campus as a city, in fact. He says that it's a city that is built as a university city with a representative identity. It represents science, and science is monumental, he was saying. And for the site, he was saying that site should be such a site that it should provide the best connection between people, nature, and culture. And it should allow all the interaction for social, moral, cultural, and economic issues, and express a life of understanding and present a new worldview. So the environment that we are living in also adds to our worldview as well. And to do this, he was saying that this campus should be designed in such a way that it should provide all these issues. And even in his sketches, we can see his representation, because he represents a city silhouette. And the lower one is the sketch of the METU Faculty of Architecture. So with its monumental and city-like design, he reflected his ideas to the design as well. And again, in the report, he was mentioning that this process will start an educational philosophy for Turkish nation. And to complete that philosophy, to add to that philosophy, it will provide a settlement and plastic solutions. And the location was important as well, and he was always saying that wherever you go at METU, you see various viewpoints of Ankara, the city, and you explore the city once more as well. Like from one viewpoint, you see the Ankara, the other part, you see the tranquil nature, the other part, the lovely mountain landscape. And there were some settlement principles he designed. In fact, he mentioned 3 principles, which is reflected also in his sketch. There was the academic core, where the forum was the central, that is the alley that we're walking on. He considered alley as the center of learning as well, connecting all the academic units together, but also acting as an open class as well. And following the academic zone, there was the residential zone with dormitories and professor lodgings and so on. And there was the other part, more recreational activities were going on, like the çarşı, sosyal bina, and the sports centers, and so on. So the project was something like that when it was first designed, and it didn't change too much. Of course, it had some minor changes during time, but mainly the same idea continued during the implementation phase as well. And when that design was made, the campus was quite away from the city center, 5 kilometers away, and there was nothing around. And there were various, in fact, villages in the location of our campus area. So there was a huge expropriation made for METU as an extraordinary, again, attempt, we can say. And all these villages were transferred to another place. So we are in a natural environment, far from the city, and the built-up part is quite small with respect to the rest of the site. Almost the total site is quite big in that respect. Well, and there were, as I said, there were various ownerships already, but they were all integrated with the METU area. And when the site was first opened to construction, it was something like that at the beginning of the constructions, when the construction started. So it was a long process till today, and the first 10 years almost were the most dense period that provided the construction of the main design ideas of the Chinese architects. So the main open spaces and the buildings were designed and constructed starting from 1962 onwards till 1970s, mid-1970s. And then there's another period with 1980s, 90s, and 90s onwards, there's another period of construction. Starting with that construction, as you can see how the landscape changed. When I say landscape, also in the title of the presentation, I do not mean just the natural environment, I mean the cultural landscape. So the environment that is shaped with men and people, human and people all together, and with all its contributes. And so now we're in a landscape quite dense with respect to the first part of it. From the beginning onwards, in the design principle, I'll be focusing mainly on the Chinese part in today's presentation, because otherwise it will take quite a long time. But the main thing was, as I have mentioned, alley. This is the main access, pedestrian access, connecting all the faculties and administrative units together at the center part as well, and it is also connected from there to the more recreational part and the residential part of the campus. In fact, the rest was considered to be an agricultural land during that period, and there was a project about also opening a agricultural engineering department at METU during that period. As you can see, the design of the open built-up, the relation of them are very important. Each building is directly approachable from the main alley, while there's a vehicular traffic going around the area, so they do not intersect with each other, and students and everybody using METU, academics and administrative people can all work easily there. These buildings, the first one built was the Faculty of Architecture and its complex with the amphitheater and the museum. The museum was then considered as a library, in fact, later on converted into a museum. And Faculty of Architecture was used for a while as the rectorate as well. And later on, the other buildings in time, as I said, the first ones are till 1970s, and the rest started to be constructed. It was a difficult period because 1960s, in fact, after the wartime, that period is known worldwide with modernist approaches, use of concrete and new technologies which we're not used to, and design architecture is also quite different than the previous periods as well. It was a chance for the Chinese to experience this at METU, but it was not easy because the construction area was not that prepared to a construction method like that. But as I said, it was an extraordinary process with extraordinary financial support, technical support, and so on. So they could achieve to do this very well, and they could really have create an important architectural environment. These are the colors shows the periods of construction. And even in the construction, they also used some elements from the traditional architecture as well, like the inscription panels. We always have inscription panels on historic buildings, showing the date of the building as well. Like a sculptural element, they also put for each faculty an inscription panel, unfortunately, which are right now in that condition. Most of them are just thrown away at one site. Here on the map, you can see the places of them as well. And even in that period, worldwide, that project gained an attraction. And in many of the architectural journals of the period, there were some articles about the project going on and saying that in Turkey they're doing something extraordinary and the architecture is quite well designed. And as you can see, the title of the architect is Turkish Renaissance. So burning again, Turkish architecture. And when we look at the buildings and the landscape as a whole, we can see all the modern period architectural and urban design approaches in our campus. Very simple buildings, use of concrete, bare surfaces, they are not painted, they do not have articulation in that sense, but use of material and showing the material is given a lot of importance, and light and spaces are very important. Like the forum of the alley, the open space that connects us. Also in the buildings, if you realize that in most of our faculty buildings, we do not have narrow corridors, but we have wide spaces instead of corridors, because in design, it was also considered that inside the buildings, there will be, like the forum, those spaces which can be used for multiple purposes. Not only the classrooms, but those spaces would be used as well. So this sketch also shows this quite well. And starting from the design, the mass facade of the building, interior of the building, and details, even every small detail was designed as a whole in that campus. Another important thing was all the buildings, because they're connected to the alley, they are transparent to alley. If you go and experience in that way, you'll see easily that from the alley, you can see inside the building, and from inside the building, you can see alley. That visual connection was very important. So as if landscape is going inside the building smoothly. That was one aim of the project. And here you can see how even the other side of the building, you can see in that one as well. The other elements, generally alley and building relation, either, they were connected with a path, generally an arcade, a semi-closed space. So from closed to semi-closed and an open space, there was a connection like that. And the landscape, as you can see, is quite flat. We don't have huge trees that covers the view as well. When we look at the buildings, different buildings, they all have different architectural properties, and as Chinji said at the first report, they're plastic, like sculptures as well, each of them with their properties. When we go around, some of them are hidden. This is one of them that I like quite a lot, which you can see right now if you go around, inside the bushes, and you can find it perhaps, but it's still there. And you can see the construction, all these constructions, folded structures, mushroom structures, were all very new to construction in industry in Turkey during that time, but they could be realized quite well. As I said, I'm starting from the campus, whole campus, to buildings, from buildings to the landscape, and from landscape to details, both in the buildings and on the landscape. We can see various details considered all together. So it has really a richness in space, texture, color, material, and so on. The roofs are generally following the approaches of following modernist approaches. Flat roofs we have also, but they have different ways of providing light as well, as you can see here, and the details. Besides all these architectural aspects, technical aspects were quite important as well. It was perhaps, one of the earliest examples that we have a central heating system. So it has an important technology as well. Tunnels going all underneath the campus were used for that heating system, central heating system, which still exists, but we do not see them, of course, but they are still functioning. And as you can see, the open spaces and METU Devrimstad is a very important one right now for us. It was also designed quite like a sculpture in the landscape during that period. And the alley, which was, as the buildings are constructed, you could see that alley was developing more and more. And there were some elements that you can see also here, like the lighting elements, like the water elements, and so on, the textures, which were all designed intentionally to be there. So with all these small and big components, METU campus becomes a whole and takes its identity. But METU campus, is a living campus. Well, it was designed like that during 1960s, and it has been living since then and changing, naturally changing as well. Nature is evolving as well. Number of people are increasing, technology is changing, and so it becomes sometimes a challenge to still be in the same campus, in the same buildings, live together. However, it becomes at that point quite important to understand what was the essence of the campus and what are the threats towards it and how can we add, when necessary, if necessary, new things to fulfill the requirements of the contemporary era. So when we look at the buildings themselves, they have, as I said, have different structural systems. Column-based structural systems, reinforced concrete frame structural systems, tube structural system, and so on. And they all have different pros and cons that we can experience today as well. In most of our buildings, we can see quite a lot of cracks or some deformations, which are also related with that technology and also the ground properties of the METU campus. Campus was built in an area where the soil is clay, and that clay results in, when there's too much rain, it swells, and then it again gets smaller. So there's always a movement on the ground as well. And due to the changing structural techniques of the buildings, some buildings are more affected from that change than the others. And here you can see some different types of foundations, and this also affects the buildings and their current condition. There are different infill materials, there are different floor slab types. They all make up the architecture of the area, these buildings and the site, but they all have also, as I said, some impact on the current state of the site as well. Some of the buildings have changed their functions in time as well because of new requirements, but they are not that much. They're just very few, like the museum building, as I have mentioned, which was built as a library, later on converted into a museum because METU campus, that huge site, had 3 archaeological sites, and it had to be connected to alley as well. And also some of the other buildings changed their functions. The buildings have drainage systems which are very designed in detail as well. They have an aesthetic, but also they function. As long as we look after them, monitor them, they are functioning. Otherwise, they also create quite a lot of problem at the site. So all these buildings and open spaces are very important in the design of the campus because, Chinejis were saying that it is not only the closed, built-up areas where the classrooms are, but the open spaces are the open classrooms that students should come together and can have work as well. So campus, it was considered like a huge classroom as well. That open spaces, that alley, even it also evolved in time. Here you can see how it evolved. In 1960s, it was a very pure linear element, while in time, by the use of people, new branches are added to it. Now we have an alley which is quite complex as well. And also the vehicular traffic is changing and the parking areas are changing, and we need always more and more in that sense. So all these payments in the open spaces, some of them are designed from the beginning onwards, but have problems. And some of them are, have just put without considering the design aspects of the area. So we have now so many different types all around. And there also in time, during 1960s, it was accessibility was not an issue. But right now, we always consider that it's a right of everybody to access everywhere. So accessibility is a something that we have to fulfill. And when we look at the alley, I'm sorry, it is afterwards, we'll see, we have various barriers that creates problems with accessibility. The open spaces have various uses. Some of them are intentional and formal uses, but we also have very informal uses as well. And it also adds to the character of the place. There are some places that were designed during the first design, but that are forgotten as well in time. So we can still do something to use them also. So these are all the open spaces and public spaces and their uses in different ways of uses, and mostly used places, as you can see here. And the specifically designed areas and the forgotten ones. These are the designed but forgotten spaces, open spaces in the main campus. Even the small elements are designed, but later on we have put so many different elements, sometimes making a kind of a confusion instead of, giving a harm to the harmony of the space and the unity of the design as well. And even the walls and their textures should be mentioned in that sense. They are also valuable. Lighting elements is not only for having a secure place, but also they are valuable. Some of them are a part of the design, the previous design, first design of the project, where some are later on put arbitrarily on the site. Visual components, as we have also read from the quotation from Chinichi, were very important. What you see from which point was important. We still can have view, but it's not that easy anymore because we are in the middle of the urban environment right now, different than the previous state. Alley is also related with five senses. We as human beings always experience places with five senses. We smell, we hear, we taste, we touch, and so on. So these five senses are very important for us in conservation field. Because if you want to make people experience a place and have a connection with a place so that they will want to preserve that place, you have to touch those five senses. Ali was touching those five senses. In fact, for example, there's the water element from the start of alley to the end in different faculties and open spaces. And that continuity was important. Now, most of them are not functioning. Only Faculty of Architectures is still continuing, but the rest are just forgotten, most of them. And we have natural elements, trees, and some of them we can eat as well, the fruits. And they have smell. From the beginning onwards, there was an intention to put some types of specific trees to the site so that people will feel the smell of the alley as well and eat during different seasons on the alley as well. Now some of them we have again lost. And here, for example, the smell of alley, the intentional ones, especially some of the trees are like that. We have the sound of alley. If you just read that QR code, you can hear it from one end to the other. You sometimes hear water, you sometimes hear birds, you sometimes hear students rushing around, and you sometimes hear just the traffic, which is not so nice perhaps, but we have also the sound of alley. The textures, the colors, and the sections. Every point that we're walking, we see, we experience something different together with buildings, open spaces, and nature and their interaction with each other, which was, again, intentional in the first design of the place, starting from the first design. But now we're in such an environment. Not only our needs in the campus are changing, but our environment is changing as well, which is sometimes creating threat as well. As I mentioned in the beginning of 2010s, because of that, we had a threat because we had the huge, very nice campus that can be used for various purposes, and that can be, many people can gain quite a lot of money over that campus. So there was, at that time, a threat as well. Pressure of urban development, increasing number of students, contemporary educational needs, physical infrastructure and campus setting, and so on, which are still valid. But it is very important how we manage them. When we say conservation, generally everybody is afraid of that because there's some thoughts that conservation is not touching at all. You cannot even put a nail if it's a conservation site, which is not correct. If you want to conserve a place, it should adapt itself to contemporary life, but by preserving its main essence and character. So conservation is in fact managing change in that sense. So we have all these problems right now in the alley and in the buildings. As you can see, some of them are due to very small, in fact, reasons that we can easily solve, but at that point, really, maintenance and monitoring becomes very important. Instead of doing, it's like preventive medicine. If you wait a building to collapse, then you have to do a lot, you have to pay a lot. But if you can find the reason of the decay early, at an earlier stage, you can stop it very easily with a very small amount of money. We have some small ones like that. For example, that drainage system, as you can see, in almost all our buildings, it is not functioning anymore. Just making this function can even help all these problems that will get even bigger in a short period. Or again, about maintenance issues we can consider. Some of the problems are due to structural and material issues because together with us, campus is getting old as well. Normally, we have to look after that campus. But it's not that easy because we don't have anymore that extraordinary circumstances that METU had at the very beginning of its construction. Today it's harder to do because we have to provide money, financial support, we have to have technical support, we have to have specialist people that will be working here and knowing the important aspects of the place when they are intervening, which is, skills and money and so on. So it's not that easy right now, but it can be done anyway. So even this is a part of a study that I'll mention afterwards that we made with our graduate students during pandemic. So we studied conservation management and sustainable development of METU campus during that time, starting from the open spaces to buildings to inside the buildings. We tried to understand all the values and problems. So building by building, we can even find the problems, locations of them, and what we can do for them. So now at that moment, we have various values coming together and making our campus. Some of the values are added afterwards, after its first construction, but they also add to the meaning of campus and identity of it. But we have also various problems. Our campus is a living university campus and a modern heritage. So this is a little bit contrasting with each other. On one side, it has to live. On the other hand, we consider it as a heritage because it was built and constructed, designed in 1960s. Together with METU, it has its meaning. So it provides, for us, it's important to continue providing the necessary special infrastructure for high-level education, research and cultural activities carried out at METU as a living campus. For this, we can mention various things. I'll not read them one by one, but we can define various strategies. Some are short-term, some are long-term, but it becomes important to, first of all, talk together, discuss together, and define together what we want, what we find valuable, and what we want to do with the future of that campus. We can define various projects as well for thinking and designing for METU, and reconsider all these important relations at METU. METU, as I said, is not just of buildings, but it has a nature. Even extending the main campus and alley area, as you know, we have a huge area, an important environment, which was previously a steppe area, later on by human action became a forest. So we have that forest, which is very valuable for us. And that forest, as you know, METU was like that at the beginning. Now we have an area like that. That forest got also award, Ahan Award for forestation activities. With its natural beings, with the changing landscape in all seasons, it is a value and component of METU campus as well. at least it has a conservation status at the moment. We have a conservation natural site at METU, and we have some archaeological sites as well, but we don't have any kind of conservation or reconservation principles defined for the built-up part of METU. The archaeological sites are also very important. Most of the people do not know or are not aware of that as well. But from the beginning onwards, as I said, because we had that huge land expropriated, there were archaeological sites, some very early prehistoric sites, which are also settled in the later periods till Roman and even later on in Ottoman period as well. These sites are within the campus, and in the early attempts, Kemal Kurdaş, the rector, wanted scientific excavations there, and some excavations started. So all the findings in those areas should be included in the campus area, and because of that, the library building the building built first as a library is converted into museum, which is just on the alley and very transparent, so that everybody can see and reach to that archaeology of METU as well. I should also mention that because I'm the director of Archaeology Museum, I hope you're all visiting and you all know that place, but it is really getting away from the people and the inhabitants of METU, I can say. So it becomes very important to reconnect archaeological sites and museum to the campus as well. And we can define various projects for this as well. And we should also mention that METU is the only university in Turkey that has an archaeology museum. So this is a prestige, we can say, but it brings a lot of things that we have to do also increases together with that. So these are the archaeological sites, and this is our METU museum, and we're trying to also include it to the campus life. METU is also a space for culture and art. So besides all these educational activities or natural things or the archaeological aspects of METU, from the beginning onwards, both in the open spaces, the campus area, and in the buildings, we have various art objects. And also it allows various art performances as well. So it has so interesting spaces that we can use for various art activities, which can connect people with METU, which can also increase the cultural and cultural life and quality in METU as well. With its sculptures, as you know, most of them, also paintings, and so there are so many graffitis. Some of them are giving damage to the buildings, but some of them can be considered as an art object as well. Anyway, METU campus is also a place of culture and traditions. METU, from the beginning onwards, have some traditions and have a METU culture. So it is that space, that place, covers all these cultural activities and traditional activities and makes them continue, like the Spring Festival, like the graduation ceremony, previously forestation activities, and so on. Some of these activities were not just for the people of METU, but also including the inhabitants of Ankara, so connecting Ankara to METU as well, which is also something important, I think. So making those activities continue in the places that are related with them, attached with them, are important as well. METU is also a space for the city and inhabitants, as I mentioned. In the first period, some of the activities were also involving the citizens of Ankara. This is very important because, again, when we return back to those 2010s, when those things happened, that road was passing, and there was not much reaction from Ankara citizens for METU. And people were, again, a little bit surprised. Why are not they reacting? We just METU people are reacting to that. It was normal because if you do not allow people inside the campus, that campus is not theirs. So it becomes important, an important strategy also to make controlled access of the rest of the citizens to the site, to learn from each other as well. We should not live also in fanuses, and we have to be also in interaction with the citizens of Ankara and Turkey as well, which is something that we have to continue. And METU campus also can be used as a place that we can come together as well. Out of METU Campus also, from the beginning onwards, there were a lot of activities some campaigns designed by METU to continue that interaction with the society, like for the villages, small villages. And we also, in Faculty of Architecture, in our first year architectural construction practice survey and practice module, we were going to somewhere far from here and building a village school or a building, so students were actively integrating with the inhabitants of that area. Now we cannot do anymore because we don't have money anymore. So it becomes hard to continue that interaction. We are always studying METU because of that. The first year students are also studying METU. We are also studying METU. That's good, but we have to continue that interaction. Besides, METU has other potentials as well. Well, our campus is very valuable. It's a huge green area, but it's a part of other green areas, and it's a part of a green belt, in fact. So that connection is valuable and can be used sometimes. Again, it has other connections, like the archaeological sites. Here you can see, we have 3 archaeological sites, but here in Ankara, we have similar period archaeological sites and museums that are connected with that. Recently, as you know, Gordion became UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the sites in METU Campus are from the similar period. However, because they are not looked after that much, right now, if you go there, you can't see many things. METU Campus is also an open-air architectural museum, we can say. This is mentioned also by Professor Abdi Güzer in an article in Yapı Journal, because besides Çinici's buildings, the buildings built afterwards also are valuable and built by generally famous architects of Turkey. So it's like an architectural agenda, museum of Turkey, which is a value as well. METU Campus is a living laboratory. As I said, during pandemic and due to different occasions, we had to work in METU, but that's good. We have so many things to do at METU. As architects, we can find so many projects. It's like a living lab, urban lab, that we can find things and experience them exactly in the campus. I'm sure you are also doing various projects related with METU Campus, perhaps, but we are not aware from each other as well. So that can be an occasion to learn from each other and connect with each other to work for METU as well. So when we talk about conservation and development of a place, we have some steps, starting from understanding the place, then defining the values of the place, then defining the problems threatening those values, and based on this, defining a vision for the future of the place, and for this vision, defining strategies, actions, and all the other principles as well. So in such a process, when we look, and one of the major aspects of METU as a modern heritage is that the buildings, most of them are of concrete, which is also a kind of a challenge, considered as a challenge, because as you know, most of the people say that concrete has just 50 years of lifespan, which is not correct. Like they say for conservation, you cannot put on a nail. It is similarly as well. But still, it has to be also experienced, and we have to work more on concrete conservation as well. We have to get prepared to that as well, so that we won't have problems in the future. We made already some projects. I have been, as I said, studying on METU for a long while, starting from 2011 onwards. And I also conducted some master's thesis and PhD thesis, each of them focusing different aspects of METU. This one was focusing on çarşı, so making all the documentation, defining all the problems of the original çarşı I mentioned, and how can we make it better. The strategies and actions to make it better were defined at the end of the thesis. Another one was about the alley of METU, which documented, evaluated, and proposed different actions for alley as the main spine of METU. This was the project that we have started in 2012. It ended in 2014, together with all our colleagues, Professor Cevat Erdar, who was an archaeologist and founder of our department, Professor Eyvan Altan Ergut, architectural historian, specialized in modern period architecture especially. Professor Dr. Funda Başbütüner, who is a landscape architect, and she has a lot of studies on METU as well. During that time, there was Jan Bertram, an archaeologist working in the archaeological sites of METU, and Sevin Osmay, who was from City and Regional Development Program. She was a sociologist. Together with Ender Peker, they studied on the collaborative decision-making process of that project. And Slakman was an architect as well. During that project, to define the values of METU, we made a lot of meetings, focus group meetings, and interviews, and also questionnaires and surveys by using various tools with different components of METU, like the academics, students, and the administrative staff. And based on their inputs, also we had some, we used social media for get more input. We could define what do they find valuable at METU, and we try to locate those valuable places by using a GIS system, so specially locate the values of METU as well. And METU was presented in Docomomo conference in that sense as well, and in many other conferences invited to be presented. In pandemic period, we worked at METU, as I said, and we had a huge group of students, architects, and civil engineers, and our research assistants also contributed to us. And here you can see the names of the all who contributed to the study. I won't be able to mention one by one, but together with their efforts, we could do that huge study. And at the end of that study, we could end up with a huge information system, special information system, including all that information about the components, values, problems of METU, and also METU GIS, that one. And also, we could, by using that, we defined a lot of principles, policies, strategies and actions for conservation of METU during that period, and some projects and conservation plan. We also are continuing studying on METU buildings as well, one by one, sometimes due to some master's thesis, sometimes just for the first year practice. We are using METU right now as a living lab, and every semester we are making some of the students document them. So we have now almost, this is Faculty of Architecture, laser scanning and processing. In that one, graduate program in conservation of cultural heritage, photogrammetry lab actively integrated together with Kemal Gülcan and Filiz Diri. And so we could document many buildings like that at METU in different parts, but we have much more to do. And it's not that just documentation, but thinking together for the future as well. So these are just steps that can come together. And as I said, I'm sure you have things that you have done so far for METU as well. We are a very strong community, in fact, together with our students, academicians, and administrative staff as well. And I'm sure, I mean, when we come together, we can create very good ideas for the future of the place as well. So I hope this presentation and being together with you here can help us to think for the future of METU. And one of the future can be, METU is a brand, we are saying that, as an education institution. In Turkey, it is one of the best, and it can be one of the best all over the world as well. But it is a brand together with this campus as well. So we can also use that national, international brand, place brand of campus as well, which can contribute to METU brand even more. So the place is not under any kind of conservation status, but it can have in time. And even if it doesn't have, we can act as if it has, because we find it valuable, that's all. Gaining international attraction is important, of course, in that sense that Ahan Award was very important for reforestation program of METU. And another important one is Keeping It Modern Getty project, which was conducted by Professor Ayşe Savaş and her team, which was also very important. Faculty of Architecture got that award. So we can make use of such initiatives more and more There are various more, like the UNESCO Modern Heritage Program, and so on. Many modern period buildings are included in such programs and supported by them. And even in UNESCO, we have similar period 2 campuses in the UNESCO World Heritage List. One is one is Caracas, Venezuela. Same period, 1960s, architecture is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the other one is UNAM. So why not METU? It is very valuable. It is really a distinctive architectural and urban environment that we are living in, and we hope that we can preserve this place by also solving its problems for the future. So I would like to thank you all for coming today and listening, and I hope that can be an occasion to just start thinking of METU all together. Thank you very much. Sadece, not only questions, but also if you have any comments or contributions, that will be perfect, of course.
Thank you, Güliz, for this nice talk, and I really learned a lot that I had not much idea about the history. I'm wondering, I appreciate the architectural renaissance that METU campus marks this, but also we live in an era of changes, like climate change, and the carbon footprint and energy conservation and all kind. How are we going to combine these two? I mean, we have the heritage, architectural heritage, which is designed for the world of 60s, but now in the world of Anthropocene, with the problems of all these, climate change and all others. Is there a room for these alterations? Like, can we put solar panels onto the buildings? Or can we make different adjustments to save the energy and make it more carbon footprint? Carbon proof. Because the world is going that direction.
Exactly, and you're right, Meryem Hocam, because we are, as you said, we are in an era of crisis, energy crisis, climate change, and various other challenges. So we have to, if we want to use those buildings, we have to adapt those buildings to those challenges as well. But this this needs working on this, of course. I had a project on, a Newton project on energy efficiency, adapting to energy efficiency, climate change, and comfort for traditional residential buildings in Turkey. Buildings belonging to past, not 60s even. And we could end up with some results together with different disciplines. We made a project like that. For METU also we have to think, but it is a challenge for modern period buildings. What kind of a challenge? They have exposed surfaces. In their design, it is a sense of their design. So we cannot say that, let's put some insulation material in front of them so that we will have energy efficiency. It's not possible. So we have to think more. It's a challenge, but we can solve, of course. How can we make them energy efficient and make them prepared to climate change while not changing basic characters of those buildings? There are various examples. One of them is the Yale, from University of Yale. Their campus is a modern campus as well, and they have recently restored one of their buildings, which got a lot of recognition as well. And there are other projects like that also. Le Corbusier, who is a very famous architect, has buildings all over the world, and his buildings are under such studies as well. So there are various studies going on, but it needs collaboration of different disciplines as well. We as architects or conservation architects, but also from other disciplines here at METU, we can use METU as I said, a lab, and we can work on this. Right now, we are making a project for METU Museum. Because I was the director of the museum, I said I can start with that one at least. It's a very small one, but it shows all the typical character of the other buildings as well. So if we can find a solution in that, then we can reflect it to the other buildings also. So it's a process that we have to study on, but there are ways to do, of course. And it's for sure that we have to get prepared. I mean, we can never say that, no, you cannot touch those buildings. Don't put any solar panels, don't do anything. You have to live in such an environment. It's not possible, of course. But we have to, I mean, it is a kind of consensus building. The building has some values in itself, and you have to do something, and we have to talk, make them talk with each other to find solutions in that sense. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Is there another question from yours?
There's another one here,
Okay,
but...
then another mic goes there.
Professor, firstly, thanks a lot for this valuable question. Probably, I think it will give us another perspective when looking at the site and the campus. My question is about the, some forgotten places that you have talked about. We just mentioned and passed through that. You said that some places were designed, but they were forgotten.
Yeah.
The forgotten means is that they weren't constructed, or they constructed,
No, they're
but we cannot see
constructed.
them.
They're constructed, but later on, with sometimes growing forestation, sometimes because we didn't maintain those places, we are not aware that there's such a valuable place that you can sit and, for example, just nearby the library, there are such spaces that you can take your book and study in the open space. And so on. So there are various spaces like that in almost every faculty. In the projects, we can see that they are drawn, and in construction, they are constructed, most of them, but we have forgotten them.
Or are you doing, or someone is doing something to just remind that place to us?
Right now, someone is not doing something, but perhaps we can do something altogether to remind them. We know where they are, and we can, I mean, it's always really connecting those places with the daily life of people. So as long as you know that place, then you can assign a small activity there, and when people go there, they know that place. And then when they know that place, they look after that place. It's a kind of a cyclical process. When you know, when you have a, I mean, you have an activity in that place, then you start, that place starts to have a meaning for you, and you start valuing that place and using and looking after. It's a cyclical process that we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I had one question here. Güliz Hocam, thank you for your informative and historic talk. About the forgotten places, I remember spotting forgotten artifacts around METU. They are usually found in behind bushes, like behind the stadium, and sometimes in the residential area for the professors between Çarşı and that place. There are some forgotten architecture slash monumental, yeah, I don't know how to name them, they don't have a name, and they're usually in ruins. So I didn't see anything about that, but maybe you already have something, and I have a comment. This goes both to you and maybe Rector Ahmet Hocam at the same time. Our central heating system is quite old. It was problematic 20 years ago, as far as I remember, but it was quite an achievement at the time. But ODTÜ has a tremendous manpower potential, so this is a suggestion. A competition slash senior project can be offered to civil engineering and mechanical engineering departments. How can this be made more green, as one of the questions suggested? So this is a open-ended comment on my side. So I'll be happy to talk about this also. We sometimes get cold, not to everybody knows, not everywhere, but a central heating system has difficulties. So my question would be about the forgotten monuments. I don't know what to call them.
Well,
Harabeler.
yeah,
Küçük 1-2 metrekarelik harabeler.
exactly. We are exploring them. I mean, I also was not aware of many of them till until I started those projects. So it is an exploration process as well. And as long as we explored quite a lot. In fact, I didn't bring here, but we have, as a result of this project, we have 2 huge book-like outputs, which includes all that information that we can share with everybody. But it belongs to a few years ago. Right now, it's already old, I can say. But still, I mean, we have an information system. That is very important. I mean, the books, printed ones, can be out of date after a while. But an information system, if you design a system that is monitored, that is updated, then every time you realize something, you can add to that system, and it can be seen by this way, by the others.
There are orientation runners, I don't know what it's called. But, they run around the campus and they spot points. Orienteering, maybe?
Yeah,
that
is also a power of METU. I think, I use this for archaeology museum, the student clubs. Because, I mean, we can do everything with students. Yeah. We can do it together with students. We have really very powerful together with them, and they can help us to make those places remembered and valued as well. As I said, for example, for METU museum, many people also just go once to the museum and goes around and sees the collection and never comes again. But it is important to take them inside frequently. At that point, just after the pandemic, we made an activity called museum, archaeology, and arts. And together with the student clubs, more than 8 or 9 student clubs, we created every week, let's say, the student club on music was making a performance, and a scholar was giving a lecture on how in archaeology, in ancient eras, music was used, and then we were all together enjoying. And so doing various activities, it can be, I mean, this is just one example, but as you said, orienting group can help to realize those areas as well. And we can also make other activities in those forgotten parts also. I mean, it's a process of realizing and then projecting. I also believe that we can define various projects, design and think for METU. And those projects, I think, should be always interdisciplinary. I mean, we should not give a project just to architects or the civil engineers. This campus is a place that we can continue and realize interdisciplinary works all together, from students to academics.
Thank you very much for reminding us our environment. Last year or the year before, in the summer, it was very difficult to work in our offices throughout the campus because the architectural first-year students were swarming around and making measurements of our buildings.
But the results.
And personally, I truly love that, that our students were doing their summer practice on campus. So mine is not a question, but a comment through your presentation that probably chemical engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, and everybody else can swarm around the campus for their summer practices, especially in their first year. So an open suggestion to the campus.
Yeah, that would be perfect, really.
I have a suggestion. I mean, since you are the vice rector and head of the museum and also head of a center, why not having a walking tour of METU for hidden treasures that you show to us?
Sure, we can do this.
Open
I
to the
proposed this to our
members.
rector. I said that let's make a tour in METU. I will guide you,
It's
and
like
I can guide the
guided
others
tour.
as well.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
We
I mean,
can all together walk and
Yeah.
sometimes perhaps there are things still that I didn't realize as well. We can all together realize and explore METU, re-explore METU as well.
Yeah, it's scheduled tours, maybe once in a week or once in every other week, and you or your students, or I don't know who is in charge of this, but that would be lovely that we can register online and be there on time and have a lovely talk.
Sure,
And
let's try this. Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. Ben teşekkür ederim.